Hello and welcome to the RamsTalk podcast. After yet another 2-0 defeat, and for those who are listening, probably think, well, Jake sounds a bit different, and for those who are watching, looks a bit different too. Jake's actually unavailable to host tonight's show, so you've got lovely me hosting tonight, and I've got three lads with me. One regular special guest who has come yet to save us. I've got Adam Titleaf Goalhanger on YouTube. How are you, mate?
I'm not too bad. Glad to be back on again.
You sound it. We've got Vic also, mate. Vic also, mate. How are you, mate?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Getting through the weeks towards the end of the season as we limp there. And Chris, how are we, mate? I've also got Chris here.
I'm really good, mate. I think I'm going to be Mr. Positive out of everyone. Cheer everyone up for once.
Well, we said we'll try and keep it as upbeat as possible. It wasn't great, another 2-0 defeat, but at the end of the day, we've got to stick behind the team, stick behind the lads, and get there with them to the end of the season. And if we can limp, we were just chatting off before we came on air. Vic put it perfectly, limping into the playoffs. But I mean, 2-0 defeat, and Adam, I'm going to come to you. We saw a formation change, which I don't think many of us were expecting. I think when I saw the lineup, I thought 4-4-2 straight away, or something on those lines. And 3-5-2 was the one that Paul Warner's elected to go with. I mean, was it the right call, or what do you think about it?
I think it was the right decision to switch it up after Peterborough and Fleetwood. I think we needed just a bit of a change, but then it kind of worked in a way, but we've come away with a loss, so it's definitely up for debate. I think the wide players just didn't perform as well as you would have expected, and I think they sat too deep and defended too much, which, even saying that, we got caught on the break twice, but it's difficult to say. You could definitely change it again. You could definitely change it, or you could still. It's hard to say. At the end of the day, we've lost again, and I just think some of the players were too defensive in that formation.
I mean, yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we saw Nathaniel Mendes-Lang as a wing back once again. We saw him earlier in the season, Vic, try and play in that position. And yesterday, again, it was another game where he continued to struggle. I mean, what did you think of his performance? And what do you think about the 3-5-2 formation? Do you think it suited us?
I like the idea of it, but I just don't think we've got the personnel to accommodate the 3-5-2. With regards to Mendes-Lang, again, looked jaded, looked tired, doesn't look comfortable playing wing back, and nor should he really, because it's not his natural position. But again, like many others in the team, they all seem to be out of form, and we seem to be playing against the bigger teams in this league. And I mean, yesterday wasn't for a lack of effort. I mean, I thought the performance overall was decent. I just think that it was the golfing quality that just done us in the end. So never mind. I guess we just have to roll on to Forest Green now and limp into the playoffs.
I mean, Chris, Vic alluded to there. We saw the way the team set up, and Adams also mentioned it in terms of was it the right call? Another 2-0 defeat, probably not on paper, but I mean, we saw a better performance, much better compared to the past 2 weeks, and we competed the vast majority of the game, other than the first 10 and last 10 probably, where that golfing quality really showed. I mean, can you see that 3-5-2 going into the last 7 games, or do you think it just was maybe a roll of the dice by Paul Warne?
Well, I think, to be fair to Warne, he had to do something, didn't he? Because if he'd gone in and changed with the same lineup and that score had happened, he'd have got slated. What worried me was his interview with Radio Derby afterwards. He said almost lovingly, like he really liked 3-5-2. I mean, I like elephants, but I don't want one. And it's like I think Vic hit the nail on the head there. He likes it, but we haven't got the team to actually do it yet. Next season, if he's got a full pre-season, and I really want him to, by the way, no matter what happens, even if we lose our last 7, he should be in charge at the start of next season. If he's got all pre-season to drill that 3-5-2 into him, get 2 strikers who can actually play 3-5-2, and get wing backs who can play 3-5-2, then fine. But I think I was quite excited because I thought we were going to go 4-4-2. And yeah, the way we set up, it was obvious. And unfortunately, the first 10 minutes didn't help his argument because we were woeful. So yeah, if he wants to stick to that long term, fine. But the players haven't played it. I don't think Fozzie's been there the longest 10 years. He's never played that. And that says it all. So they need a good pre-season to get used to. You could get used to playing that, because unfortunately, I think we could play it against Forest Green, a poor team, win 3-4-0, and everyone thinks, oh, genius. But my concern is we've got Pompey and Sheffield Wednesday last 2 games of the season, and it's not going to work against them with Mendes Lang at wing back.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're spot on there. I mean, when you look at the players on paper, I think he tried to do it earlier in the season, and fans looked at it and went, "That's not the team that we should be putting out. It's not the team. The formation doesn't suit the players." And when you look at, I mean, you've got here, like we said, Nathaniel Mendes-Lang and a few of the regulars continue to struggle at the moment, and the formation didn't suit those players. I mean, Adam, when you look at the 3 midfields, we saw Horahan drop out the sides. I mean, did you really think that was the right call there? I mean, he's struggled over the last couple of games. People have put Passenger. I mean, that's a bit harsh, but I mean, when you look at the 3 midfields, do you see that?
I think when we go more defensive, we saw it at Peterborough, Horahan became a little bit passive because he plays better in an attacking formation where he can dictate the play. And when we're playing defensively, he struggles. I think it worked when he came on. There was an added bit of energy and he was up for it. Obviously, we didn't score anything, but he definitely had more of an impact. I think I was more disappointed with Jason Knight coming off yesterday. Didn't really understand that. We needed the energy. Knight had been a great player. I think, like Nathaniel Mendes-Lang, I agree with Vic, like you said at the start, he looks tired. He needs a rest. I would have gone with Barkhazen. But Mendes-Lang played the whole game and Jason Knight came off. I think, once again, substitutions puzzled me a little bit yesterday, if I'm going to be honest, when we went 2-0 down. Not the substitutions I would have made. The place went flat. And for the last 10 minutes, we didn't really cause anything. And I think, obviously, like I said in last week's, we've not got the squad to rotate too much. But I think we need to have a little bit more rotation. Jake Rooney coming in was an interesting take, but he works hard and definitely adds something different to when he comes into the team. But I think we do need to rotate Forest Green away with a couple of new players coming in, maybe Barkhausen starting and Dobbin.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say like rotation's the thing that we need to do, but obviously with the squad that we've got, we're struggling with that, with the depth of it. I mean, Vic, are we seeing the cracks within the squad as we go towards the end of the season? How the small numbers and the quality off the bench? I mean, has Paul Wong got the players to actually make those changes that Adam's alluding to?
I think we always knew we were up against it this season, just purely from our recruitment drive. We recruited well, but not enough players through the door. And obviously it's come to bite us on the backside. It's not as if we can sort of delve into our academy either, because our academy's been dismantled. So it's one of them weird seasons. It's a season of transition, but at the same time, because of the form we were on, we propelled ourselves into the playoffs and the expectations grew. But if we take a step back and look at it, really and truly, it's a transition season. We didn't have enough time to sort of build that squad. Changing manager midway obviously can impact that too, because as much as he likes the squad that we've got currently, the majority of them are probably not his sort of player, and barring players like Jason Knight maybe. So yeah, it's a funny one. The cracks in the squad, I wouldn't say cracks in the squad. It just shows that we've got no depth, and I think that could cost us the playoff position at the end of the season. But we've got to remain hopeful. We've got a few winnable games coming along, but the only thing we need to do is start scoring goals. We need to take more shots, start scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, you said there. I mean, Chris, when you looked at the game yesterday, we were competing, but it was yet another game where things didn't go our way. Didsy missed a chance which you probably put your house on, and the crowd lost faith. I mean, I don't know if for you guys who were there, it was nearly empty by full time. I mean, when you look at going forwards, can you see the goals returning?
Yeah, I mean, we've still got the same players who scored a hatful of goals. It's all about confidence, isn't it? I think it is interesting what Vic said about when Warne came in. I think we've all got to remember the pre-season the players had, albeit short, the style of football that Rossini was trying to play as opposed to what Warne was playing. It's an absolute gulf. You need a pre-season for players to get that out of their system, and you're seeing with Rossini at Hull, you know, the Hull fans, they're getting a bit bored because it was very much a possession-based style. I was just on the atmosphere yesterday. I was a little bit disappointed. I thought, considering what it was, 29,000 fans there. Apart from in the first half when we started to get into it a bit, and then start the second half, there wasn't a lot there. I mean, I don't like crediting away fans, as you well know, but they really got behind them. And I know it's easy. I know they're winning. I know they're on a winning streak, and we were exactly the same. But it's times like that when the stadium the size we've got, we need to start making a real difference. But to be honest, I don't blame the fans for leaving 10 minutes early because, you know, I mentioned yesterday, I won't go on about it too much, but we played Birmingham last season. We were 2-0 down, 10 minutes left, and you just felt something could happen. Yesterday, you just knew it was gone. And I think when Adam mentioned about Knight going off, unfortunately, I think the only reason he took him off was to actually rest him, so he didn't get injured or booked. I think that was the only reason. There was nothing tactical behind it. So. Yeah,
I mean, as you said, that second goal pretty much ended all hopes, especially to the fans. I mean, we won't talk about it too much because I think we'll go on like a broken record if we mention the officials. But Adam, I will just bring it up very briefly. There was a decision that baffled, I think, a lot of fans, and yet. As more videos come out on social media of the opportunity, I'm still lost as to why it was disallowed. I mean, can this happen every week? I mean, I think Jake put it in the group chat for us guys, for Vic and Chris, that it's happened one or too many times against top 6 teams. I mean,
and the referee apologised, or the linesman apologised.
Yeah, and I mean, Adam, I mean, can we continue to put up with this? I mean, if we stay in this league for another year, we're gonna be seeing a lot more of them.
It's disappointing. I mean, I don't expect the officiating to be at the levels of the Premier League in this division. Obviously, with 2 divisions below, it's disappointing. Like I said, don't want to go on about it like a broken record. I don't understand why it's been disallowed. But at the end of the day, we only created one other chance. I think disallowing that goal wouldn't have done anything stopping us losing. I know, obviously, I've got a lot more to say about the Plymouth away game that we lost because of the referee. But yesterday,
but Adam, don't you think at 1-1, which is what that would have made it, we could have gone on then? You know, I know it's easy. I know we can't blame the referee we can't blame the referee for losing by losing by 2 goals. But I think if that had been allowed, we started the second half really well. The momentum was there, and that killed us again. So,
yeah, I agree. I think we should have kicked on. Definitely yesterday, if that goal, which should have stood, because in my opinion, it's a clear goal. I don't understand the foul in there at any point, but it should have stood. I think Yeah, I agree with you. Chris would have had the momentum and probably would have gone. I think I said to my mate at the time when I went, that goal would have sent us through probably to win the game, in my opinion, anyway. But yeah, it's just, you don't like talking about the officiating after a loss, do you? It's never nice, but yeah, it's difficult. You're going to get these decisions all season. I just think it's about how you react to the decisions in the game.
Yeah, I mean,
Just my
yes,
opinion.
no, and Vic, I mean, you probably saw the reaction of the players, the fans, the Paul Warren. Everyone was at a loss with what was going on. I mean, I thought he was pointing towards the halfway line to award the goal, and and then I see the goalkeeper putting the ball down and taking a free kick. So again, is it just another game where we just see the officials getting involved? Because, as I said, we mentioned before, the best officials are the ones that we don't notice.
I think what we have to remember with leagues 1 and 2 in particular is a lot of the referees that do officiate are part-time referees. They're not obviously not that the standard is any better in the higher leagues, but not full-time referees. So when they come to somewhere like Derby, they probably see Pride Park and they look at it and think, wow, it's a big stadium. There's been plenty of fans here. It's big teams playing. I mean, really and truly, they should have had a championship referee for that game yesterday because that's a championship level game. Yeah, if we're being honest. So we've got to remember
And
that
it's not our fault that we've got a big ground, is it?
but this is the thing. It's almost as if, like, you know, when a non-league team goes to like Old Trafford or something like that, and they just take pictures and things like that, and they just really soak it all in. I feel like we get that with the referees in this league as well, which is why we're seeing such inconsistencies, especially when we're playing. I mean, the disallowed goal, he said, was a foul on the keeper. Cashin headed the ball. He's nowhere near the keeper. I think McGoldrick was probably the closest to the keeper, who is still stood on his feet, by the way, and the ball's in the net. And even Ipswich fans were saying that goal should have stood. The thing is, we're at the stage of that season now where everything matters. If it was a mid-season, probably wouldn't have cared about it so much. But the fact that now our playoff place is at risk, this is why these decisions are becoming more and more controversial. So, yeah, I mean, the officiating in this league isn't great. If we're going to have to put up with it for another year, so be it. But then I think, like Chris said earlier, if Warren gets his time, if the transfer embargo is lifted, we get to build the squad. I think we'll be right up there next season if we don't make it this year. But unfortunately, the referees ain't going to change, so we're going to have to sort of change our, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, something we've got to put up with, and it's one of them we can't continue to blame them because at the end of the day, the performance is the thing that gets you the wins. So, I mean, Adam, when you look at our form against the top 6 teams, it's not great. I mean, that's another defeat to those who are around us, and it's coming to that point in the season where we've got to pick up points against them. I mean, you could clearly see the gulf in the quality, maybe in the squad. I mean, they were bringing on League One regulars last season off the bench, and we're bringing on the likes of Dobbin, who are untested really at this level consistently. I mean, are we seeing really the gulf in the teams up there with us?
I don't think there's too much of a gulf in terms of quality. I think I said it in my video before the game. I think it's just in terms of form. Players are in higher confidence, going to be playing the ball quicker than we are, especially with the formation that we set up. But I think yesterday proved that with, like you just said, a team with a bigger squad of more quality in terms of a high volume of players, they can bring players on. They still can maintain the energy levels that they have at the start of the game. Whereas, like you said, bringing Dobbin on, an untested player in this division, almost obviously, yeah, it's difficult because we, like, going back to saying I sound like a broken record in terms of talking about not having a big squad, but just in terms of the levels of quality that we're bringing on won't be matching the top League One players that Ipswich are bringing on. So it was difficult. I don't think there was a gulf in quality. I think there was a gulf in fitness and form. I think form carried Ipswich yesterday a lot as well. You know, we did put pressure on them at times, but in terms of the counter attacks, a great first move by Ipswich, wasn't it? And then the second one, Derby switched off. They pounced on us when we switched off. So I think it's just terms of form and confidence yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right there. I mean, you mentioned form, Chris. We went 20 games unbeaten or near enough. what is missing from that purple patch that we had? I mean, yes, I mean you joked about it earlier. We said wins, but I mean, can you put your finger on anything specific? That we've gone from a team that's can roll on wins week after week to now a team that's can't buy one. I mean, what's your thoughts?
I think if you step back, football's a very simple game, and confidence is massive. I mean, you think Ipswich had a really bad spell just after Christmas or around Christmas where they couldn't buy a win, and look at them now. But
Yeah.
I do think, in all honesty, the table doesn't lie. If you look at it and say Derby are the 7th best team this season in League One, I'd actually say, yeah, I think they are. You know, we've not been consistent enough anywhere near to push for the automatics. I think we can safely say the autos are out of reach now, sadly. But yeah, you look at the 6 teams above us, and I think on form and on form is the word, and wins and clean sheets. I think we are exactly where we deserve, but there's still 7 games left. So I think if we can get 3 or 4 wins, we're there, because someone else is going to slip up as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely 7th is accurate based on what I've seen all season. And you know, I saw a lot of comments yesterday about Ipswich and the dark arts and going down and ruining our momentum. And why aren't we doing that? We've got to be winning first before we can start doing that. So, you know, all these things will come. Something Adam picked up on fitness, I noticed that yes, there was, and it is worrying considering how big a part of Paul Warne's makeup is about fitness. And we, as we said, when even before that second goal went in, we looked like we were running out of ideas and running out of steam. And yes, we've got a small squad. We've also got a very good squad. So, you know, there are excuses there, and I don't think some of them are fair, and I don't think that they should be excuses, because the way that he trains, the way that the players we've seen the players grow in terms of fitness and stamina, there's no excuse to be outrun ever. So
I think just to add to that as well, like especially with the fitness, I mean, you could say our form sort of coincided with when Luke Jenkins went off to DC United. So obviously the players are used to whatever fitness regimes and things he had in place before that. Since he's gone, it's almost as if we've run out of steam completely, and maybe that's had an impact on the players too. But on the purple patch side of it as well, I think we peaked early when every other team was out of form. Now we're out of form, everyone else is peaking, and probably if it was the other way around, we'd all be jumping up and be like, yeah, we're going to win the playoffs, or we're going to smash the top 2. But I don't know. Football's a funny old game. It's a funny old game. But like I said earlier, I think we're still limped into the playoffs. Whatever happens after that.
Well, you said that. Well, you put it spot on there. I mean, when you look at the teams in and around us, Barnsley, well informed, Bolton. I mean, have just won the AFL trophy today, beating Plymouth, who are second, quite convincingly. Ipswich are again a team in form. I mean, Adam, if we do manage to limp into the playoff, as Vic said, would we even compete at the moment in the form that we're in?
It's difficult because reaction from me after games, when we lose, I'm usually that like, I won't want to finish in the playoffs because we probably get hammered by these top teams. But at the end of the day, the playoffs are a lottery. If we got into them, if we limped into them, who knows what could happen. Huddersfield went up from the Championship without scoring a goal in the playoffs. Anything's possible, and then we've seen what the playoffs are like. As Derby fans, I think we know what the playoffs are like inside out. I wouldn't mind going into the playoffs as the underdogs because I think Derby definitely performed better when we're the underdogs. Less pressure on us. On big occasions, we seem to struggle a little bit, but when the pressure's off, we almost come into our own. So if we did get into the playoffs, who knows what could happen? You usually see it when a team hasn't beaten another team all season. You usually pull it out of the bag in the playoffs. I reckon Paul Warne could probably get us into into the motion in the playoffs and get us up for 2 games and possibly 3. But if we get into the playoffs, I almost see it as a bit of pressure's off. I know there is a lot of pressure, and that sounds silly, but I almost see it as we're the underdog, so I wouldn't mind going into it like that.
Chris, who would you have in the playoffs if you could pick one out there at the moment?
Well, if I was any of the other 3 teams, Derby, everyone will want to play us, won't they? But it's a complete. It's like local derbies, isn't it? It's like if we, I know we're 2 leagues apart, but Derby against Forest, form goes completely out of the window, and Paul Warne knows what he's doing. I think he'd get them G'd up. I would, in the playoffs, if you're going to go up, you've got to beat, 2 teams, haven't you? Two good teams. I know who I don't want to play. I don't want to play Barnsley. But but then you say, looking at the Bolton Plymouth game earlier, if Ipswich do catch Plymouth or Sheffield Wednesday, then they're not going to be overly happy, are they? So you look at, if we finish 6th and we play Plymouth or Sheffield Wednesday in 3rd, why can't we beat them?
Yeah. I mean, Vic, when you look at the position we'll probably finish in the playoffs, if we get there, we'll have the home tie first and away tie second. I mean, would that suit us in the form that we're in, or would you prefer? Seeing probably the 3rd and 4th is probably a bit of a stretch, so we'll probably end up being in that. And if Chris is right in terms of the teams we play, how would you think we compete with that?
Like we said earlier, like the playoffs are a lottery, and we got to bear in mind whoever finishes 3rd is going to be the team that misses out on automatic promotion. So that's going to have some sort of impact on them psychologically and mentally. So let's say, for example, Sheffield Wednesday on a bit of a bad run at the minute. They fall into 3rd. We finish 6th. We get to play them. I'd fancy our chances just because I think we didn't expect to finish in the playoffs. They expected to get automatically promoted. And then
let's also bear in mind, Vic. Sorry to cut in there, but we're playing Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough, last game of the season. If we nick a point and that stops them going up, well, they ain't going to want to play us again, are they? They'll be absolutely bouncing. So it is all about momentum. Sorry, Vic. Carry on.
No, I agree. So, literally, I'd fancy whoever finishes 3rd if we do finish 6th. And history has shown. Look at Leeds in the semi-finals. Then we went 1-0 down. Was it 1-0 down in the first leg and come back in the leg? Anything can happen in the playoffs. We just got to get there.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw on Twitter over the last couple of days with the Derby form and the Derby defence the way it is, there's a certain player coming back, and by the sounds of it, he's played his allotted under-21s fixtures. Adam, will James Chester be the guy to stop the rut and stop the 2-0 defeat?
I'll be honest, I can't remember him playing early on in the season. It seems so long ago since the last saw James Chester pull on a shirt, if I'm going to be honest. Just feels like a name in the academy at this point. But I don't know where he'd fit in without pushing Forsyth into left back at the moment. I mean, he could drop Forsyth, but I think he's putting in decent enough performances to be a regular starter, and so does Cashin. So I think it's difficult. It'd be a big risk to rest one of those 2. I know we're losing the 2-11 game, but also I think you've got to look at the fact that we're not scoring. I know we scored on Saturday and it got disallowed, but you've got to look at that fact. So James Chester, you could start him at Forest Green. That would be a good game to start him against. But I don't really know how you change that back line personally in terms of Forsyth and Cashin, because I think that'd be a big risk to take them to out.
Let's see. I think if he plays the 3-5-2, you could play Chester as the 3rd centre back, because I think he might have played there earlier on in the season as well and looked pretty comfortable. So if James
Chester is the answer, what the hell is the question, though, isn't it?
I think the question is stop 2-0 defeats. I think that at least the statement of the day. Vic, we're going into a big Easter weekend. We've got 2 games to preview that will come out. We've got Forest Green away, and then we've got MK Dons at home. I mean, 2 teams at the lower half. I mean, Forest Green, people have said they're dead and buried at the bottom of the table. They've got nothing. They've got everything to fight for. Is it the team that we really need at this point in time, or to get our form back on track?
I think this will the Forest Green game will be a test of character for Derby. I think in order to get anything out of there, we need to battle, we need to fight, because they're fighting for their lives at the bottom. They've got a chance of staying up, so they're going to put everything into this game. At the same time, we want to try and save our playoff ambitions, so we need to be just as ruthless, just as physical. Really need to put it on them. And again, we'll find out a lot from the Forest Green game in terms of where we are fitness-wise, physicality-wise, mentally. And as a team, if we're up for the fight. So yeah, I think this weekend's huge for our season. I think really and truly we've got to go for the 6 points. We've got to try and win both games, if possible, or at least minimum take 4 to keep within the hunt. But yeah, it's gonna be a battle at Forest Green. Small pitch, fans are tight and really close to the pitch, and their tails are up because they're as well. So they're fear us, but we shouldn't fear them either. I think we'll go in all guns blazing and hopefully get a couple of goals. It'd be nice to see us score a goal, actually.
Adam, do you echo what Vic's testament there?
I think it's going to be a scrappy game. We have to dig in. I don't care if we win by an own goal 1-0. I don't care as long as we win. That's all I'm bothered about. I think we're going to have to dig in. It'd be a scrappy game. It'd be a test of character, really. I think in that game against Forest Green, they'll be up for it, like Vic said, and we've got to be up for it too. Now, I don't care how we win as long as we win. 1-0 penalty, last minute, own goal in the first minute. I don't care. As long as we get that 3 points, that is all that matters for the rest of the season.
Chris, what will be a successful weekend for you in terms of points accumulation?
6, and I think it needs to happen. I think, if you'd looked at the fixtures at the start of the season, you'd have said, yep, that's where we need to win. Just looking at the fixtures on Friday's huge. I mean, you look at Wickham, they're going to Ipswich. Peterborough are away at Shrewsbury. They got absolutely annihilated, didn't they, against Charlton? So they're going to want to bounce back. And then you've got Bolton away at Exeter. So, I can see a couple of drop points there. If we get a win against Forest Green, suddenly we're 5th. And then against MK Dons, if we can get a win there, we are, you're talking about being cemented back in the playoffs, aren't you? So, yeah, I think nothing less than 6 points will do. I think if we play at 70-80% of our best, we should win both games. But I'd still take 1-0 on both games personally.
Are those your score predictions? I'll come straight back to you.
Oh, sorry. No, score predictions. I think we'll beat Forest Green 3-1. And I think MK Dons, we will win 4-1.
4-1. Vic?
Forest Green, I think we're going to win 2-1. It's going to be tight. It's going to be cagey. If we win that, then I think we'll put MK Dons to the sword. And I think we'll beat them 4-0.
Go on,
4-0.
Vic.
Go on. Adam, are you as optimistic as Vic?
I'm saying 1-0 at Forest Green, scrappy game, get the confidence back, and then we go and play MK Dons and win 3-0. Lovely fast-flowing football. Back again.
So what we're saying is after 3 games of 2-0 defeats, the goals are going to come back thick and fast, and we're going to have a goal thriller of a weekend, yeah? Is that what we're all saying?
What are you saying, though, Callum? What are your score predictions?
I'm going to go... I think Forest Green away is going to be difficult. I think they're going to make that.
Didn't they beat Wednesday the other week?
Yeah, Vic mentioned earlier 1-0. Yeah, so at their place. So I'm probably going to go. I'll go 1-0. I think we'll get a goal. I don't care how it happens. I'll say Collins gets it, and then I'll probably go MK Dons. I'll go 2-1. I think let's go 2-1. I don't think we'll keep a full clean sheet weekend.
And
Chris,
I know we can't talk about Collins, but you've just mentioned him. He did really well. So everyone needs to stop slagging him off. If he'd missed that chance yesterday that Didsy had, he'd have been absolutely slaughtered. So I've not been his biggest fan, as everyone knows, but he did well yesterday. So well done, James. Keep it up.
Well done, James Collins. We'll leave it there, and we'll finish on that high note. And if James, you're listening, Chris is part of your number one fan club.
I wouldn't go that far.
Thanks to all those who've listened to me rabble on with the lads. We've got to keep positive, stay with the lads going into the last 7 games of the season, and let's hope for an Easter weekend to remember rather than the one to reflect on in sorrow. If for those who've listened, audio platforms, the usual, Spotify, Apple, you can listen to us anywhere. For those who want to see our faces and see Chris in his headset, YouTube/RamsTalk Pod. And if you want to get involved with us on Twitter, RamsTalk Pod again. It's quite easy to find us everywhere on social media. But no, thank you to all the lads on a Sunday evening, and let's hope for a better performance next weekend.
Dress up as a hamburger against Forest Green, please.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.